Most people, the sensible ones, avoid the old Weaver Toll Road, especially when darkness blankets the land and the familiar world recedes into shadow. It has a certain undeniable, chilling reputation, a history whispered in hushed tones in shadowed corners of local diners over lukewarm coffee, and in the flickering, buzzing fluorescent gloom of late-night gas stations where weary attendants have seen too much. They say it's haunted, that strange, deeply unsettling, and inexplicable things happen out there, particularly around the infamous, seldom visited, and dreaded mile marker 19. I always brushed those stories off as local folklore, the kind of spooky yarn spun with relish to give kids a thrill, something to whisper about with wide eyes during sleepovers under the cloak of a shared blanket, the darkness outside the window seeming to press in with a watchful life of its own. Then, about a month ago, I found myself in a desperate predicament, a situation born of bad luck, technological failure, and perhaps a touch of my own stubborn, fatigue-driven judgment. My GPS, my trusted digital guide, died unexpectedly, a sudden, infuriating black screen, leaving me adrift on a vast, dark sea of unlit country roads. And the old Weaver Toll Road, despite its ominous repute, despite the cold, visceral chill the name sent down my spine, presented itself as the most direct route home on a night I desperately needed my own bed, for safety and oblivion and the end of a very long day. I should have taken the longer, safer way, the well-lit interstate with its comforting stream of fellow travelers, a reassuring river of light in the vast dark. I knew it even then, a small, insistent voice of reason trying to be heard, drowned out by the siren song of exhaustion. Because what I encountered at that phantom toll booth, that impossible structure at mile marker 19, it wasn't looking for coins or cards. No mundane currency would suffice its ancient hunger. It was looking for something else entirely, something far more precious, something intangible, something I never imagined could be bartered away, let alone stolen from the fabric of my being, leaving a wound that might never heal. My name is Sarah, and I work as a traveling nurse. It's a demanding job, often thankless, requiring long hours that stretch into the lonely night and a resilient spirit that can weather exhaustion and stress, but one I usually find rewarding in its own quiet way. My work frequently takes me across the state, often to remote, underserved clinics or small, understaffed hospitals in towns that barely register on maps, places where the nights are deeper, the shadows longer, and the silences more profound than any city dweller could comprehend. This means a significant portion of my life is spent behind the wheel, driving through lonely hours, usually late at night when the world is asleep, or navigating in the dim, liminal hours just before dawn, when the veil between worlds feels thin. I'm accustomed to solitary roads, to the hypnotic play of headlights on endless stretches of dark asphalt. I've seen my share of wildlife, deer caught like statues in my beams, raccoons scurrying into the undergrowth, the occasional glint of a coyote's eyes at the edge of the woods. None of it ever truly unnerved me, nothing that made the hairs on my neck stand up, until my ill-fated journey on the old Weaver Toll Road. That night, the ordinary became extraordinary, and the mundane veil of reality was torn aside to reveal something ancient and terrible. It's a relic, that road, a forgotten artery of a bygone era. Built with grand intentions in the 50s, it was envisioned as a major thoroughfare. But funding dried up, newer highways were built, and the old Weaver was largely abandoned. Most of it is crumbling now, the asphalt cracked, reclaimed by weeds. The paint on the lane markers has faded to ghostly suggestions. There's only one section, a rugged stretch of about 30 miles, that's still technically open, maintained just enough by the county to be passable, mostly serving as a bumpy shortcut for hardy locals who know its quirks. The rest of it? Well, the rest is slowly being swallowed whole by the silent Blackwood Marsh, returning to the primal state, its secrets sinking deeper into the mire. The marsh itself is a place of ill omen, a vast wetland that breathes mist and swallows secrets. And then, of course, there's the legend of mile marker 19. That's where the original toll plaza was supposed to have been, according to fading maps and older memories. Not a large complex, just a single booth, from a time when tolls were collected by hand. The plaza itself is long gone, leaving no trace but the stories. But the stories persist with stubborn tenacity. They cling to that spot like the marsh fog. They say that on certain nights, when the moon is hidden, shrouded by thick clouds, when the fog rolls in thick and silent from the dark depths of the Blackwood Marsh, a fog that swallows sound and light, the toll booth inexplicably reappears from the mists. And within its shadowy confines, a collector waits. A collector, The stories always emphasize who has no interest in cash, but demands a far more esoteric, personal payment. Silly, isn't it? The stuff of classic urban legends, perfect for a shiver on a dark night. I'd heard variations of the tale countless times. It never made much of an impression. Just another spooky story. Last month, however, my skepticism was brutally challenged. I was driving back from a grueling 12-hour shift. It was well past midnight, closer to 2 a.m. I was profoundly exhausted, running on fumes and lukewarm coffee. My eyelids felt like lead. That's when my GPS died. The screen went black, no warning. Just gone. I pulled over, heart sinking, and tried every trick to revive it. Nothing. Dead as the roadkill I'd passed. The silence that descended then was heavy, broken only by unseen crickets, a sound that usually brought comfort but now mocked my predicament. I knew the general direction home, but the unlit backroads here can be a bewildering labyrinth, especially when tired. Then a memory surfaced. I recalled seeing a faded sign for the old Weaver Toll Road. I knew it cut through Blackwood Marsh, and if I could navigate it to Highway 17, I'd save 40 minutes. Against every sensible instinct, against the faint voice of those old legends, fueled by an overwhelming desire for my bed and dangerous fatigue, I made the choice to risk it. I told myself it was just a road. How bad could it be? The turnoff was almost hidden by overgrown trees. A rusted, bullet-scarred sign read Weaver RD. The moment my tires hit the old road, I knew this was different. The asphalt was a treacherous mosaic of cracks. My sedan bounced violently, suspension groaning. Headlights sliced a nervous path through impenetrable darkness. Trees pressed in, bare branches like skeletal arms. Then the fog began to rise from the marsh. Not a gentle mist, but a thick, cloying blanket, swirling across the road, swallowing the world, reducing visibility to a terrifying few feet. I was forced to slow to a painstaking crawl, my knuckles bone white as I gripped the steering wheel, peering uselessly into the opaque whiteness that pressed in from all sides. This was a monumental mistake, I muttered, my voice startlingly loud in the sudden, oppressive silence. The usual comforting chorus of the forest at night, crickets, frogs, and owls' hoot, was completely absent. There was only the unnerving crunch of my tires on broken pavement and the frantic, amplified thrum of my own anxious heartbeat. It felt as if the bog itself held its breath. The air grew colder, carrying the fetid scent of decay. I kept a nervous eye on my odometer, trying to estimate where mile marker 19 might lie, apprehension tightening in my chest. The fog was so dense, like driving through milk. Shapes loomed suddenly and then vanished, a twisted tree, a crumbling stone wall. My imagination, overstimulated by legends and fatigue, began to run wild. Every shadow seemed to writhe with unseen movement, every glint of moisture on moss transformed into watching eyes. My skin prickled. I fought the urge to abandon the car. Then I saw it. Or I thought I did. Through a momentary thinning of the fog, a pale, starkly rectangular shape materialized ahead. It looked utterly out of place, too defined for this landscape of decay. As I crept closer, my car barely moving, my breath hitched. It was a toll booth. A single, impossibly old-fashioned toll booth, standing stark and silent in the swirling mist, precisely where the legends claimed, a silent sentinel in a lost world. It looked impossibly solid, despite knowing it shouldn't exist. It was a small, weathered wooden structure, its paint a faded, peeling, ghostly gray. A single, dim, disturbingly yellowish light glowed weakly from within its grimy window, casting long, eerie shadows that hinted at movement within. The toll arm, a striped wooden barrier, was down, resolutely blocking the road. My heart hammered against my ribs. This wasn't possible. This couldn't be happening. This was a story, a myth. I brought the car to a slow, hesitant stop, engine idling with a nervous tremor. My headlights cut into the fog, which clung to the booth like a ghostly shroud. The air felt charged, heavy with an unspoken, ancient dread. For a long, agonizing moment, nothing. The silence was absolute, broken only by my car's cooling engine. I considered backing up, trying to turn around. But the fog behind seemed to have solidified, more menacing than what lay ahead. And a strange, unwelcome compulsion, a morbid curiosity mixed with paralyzing fear, kept me rooted. I felt trapped, a fly in an ancient web. Then a figure inside the booth stirred. A mere silhouette at first, a dark shape against the sickly light. It rose slowly, with deliberate, arthritic grace, and glided towards the window. As it came into clearer, horrifying view, I saw it was a man. Or at least something that wore the guise of a man. He was ancient, his face a disturbing roadmap of wrinkles, his eyes lost in shadow beneath a wide, dark hat. He wore an old-fashioned toll collector's uniform, faded and threadbare. But it was his hands that seized my attention. They rested on the counter, and they were wrong. Unnaturally long. Disturbingly pale, almost translucent. The fingers were like gnarled branches, tipped with nails like yellowed talons. They twitched slightly as if eager. He didn't speak. He just regarded me. And in those deeply shadowed eyes, I felt a cold, ancient, alien intelligence, a patient gaze that seemed to penetrate my car, to see right through me. A wave of pure, suffocating terror washed over me, rooting me to my seat. I wanted to scream, to slam the car into reverse, but I was frozen, impaled by that silent, unwavering stare. Time seemed to stretch, each second an eternity. Finally, one of those long, pale, skeletal hands lifted and tapped lightly on the glass. Tap, tap, tap. The sound was small, yet it echoed. Then his voice. Dry, rustling, papery like dead leaves, or like the sibilant sound of SHH. The toll, he rasped, the word catching in his throat. The toll is due. My mind reeled. This was insane. A ghost? Hallucination? Some cruel prank? I fumbled in my purse for my wallet, hands shaking violently. How much? I stammered, my voice a pathetic whisper. The collector's head tilted. A faint, dry, rasping chuckle like old parchment. Not money, child, he whispered, his voice seeming to come from everywhere. We have no use for such trinkets here. Then what is it you want? I forced out, throat tight. His shadowed eyes seemed to gleam with a cold, internal luminescence. He raised a taloned finger, pointing inside my car towards me. A memory, he rasped. A bright one. A warm one. Something to light the way on this very lonely, very dark road. A memory? He wanted a memory? This was beyond any ghost story. Unfathomable. I don't understand, I said again, though a horrifying comprehension was dawning. Oh, I believe you do, the collector whispered, a hint of ancient, chilling amusement in his tone. Everyone possesses memories they can spare. A fleeting moment of joy. The echo of laughter. The warmth of a summer sun. Small, insignificant things to you, perhaps. Easily given. He paused, his gaze heavy. Offer it freely, child, and the way forward will be cleared. My mind reeled. This couldn't be. But the fog, the booth, the figure. All terrifyingly real. What choice did I have? Ram the barrier? Turn back into that waiting fog, with this collector aware of me? Desperation, cold and sharp, warred with disbelief. My thoughts flashed to my grandmother, her kind smile, the aroma of her baking. A happy memory. A bright one. Could I just surrender it? Would I forget it? Would it be erased? The thought was a physical pain. The collector waited, his patience boundless. The dim light cast his gaunt face in deeper shadow. The toll, child, he repeated, voice softer, a horrifyingly coaxing sound. It is such a small price. For safe passage. My hand, trembling uncontrollably, strayed to a worn photograph I always kept tucked in my car's sun visor. It was a picture of me, aged about 10, and my beloved childhood dog, Shep, a scruffy, loyal terrier mix. We were in the park on a brilliantly sunny summer afternoon, both beaming with pure, uninhibited delight, covered in mud after an impromptu chase. A moment of pure, uncomplicated joy. A bright memory. A warm one. Exactly what he had asked for. With fingers that felt like alien things, I pulled the precious photo from the visor. I stared at it, at the two smiling, carefree faces, at the golden sunlight captured on faded paper. Could I truly do this? Sacrifice this piece of my past to this apparition? I forced myself to look up at the collector. His shadowed eyes were fixed intently on the photograph. A faint, almost imperceptible nod. He knew he had me. Taking a deep, ragged breath, I closed my eyes tightly. I focused on that memory with all the concentration I could muster. The warmth of the sun, Shep's happy barks that echoed with pure delight, the damp smell of mud, the feeling of cool grass under my feet, the sheer, overwhelming joy of that moment. I held it, clutched it, then, with a wrenching effort that felt like a part of me was dying, I released it. I imagined it detaching, a shimmering bubble of light, drifting slowly towards the waiting darkness of the toll booth. I felt a profound sense of loss. A strange, profoundly hollow sensation washed over me. An internal coldness. Profound emptiness. Not sadness, not yet, That would come later, in waves of crushing grief. Just a sudden, echoing void where that memory had been. I opened my eyes, vision blurry. The photograph was still there. But looking at it, I felt nothing. A chilling blank. I recognized myself, the dog. But the joy, the warmth, the entire emotional context. It was gone. Utterly. Like looking at a faded picture of two strangers in a park I'd never visited. The collector in the booth moved, a slow rustle of ancient fabric. He slowly, with ceremonial gravity, raised the wooden toll arm. The way ahead was clear. "Pass," he rasped, his voice barely more than the sigh of wind through dead reeds. My foot slammed the accelerator. I sped forward, past the ghostly booth, not looking back. Heart pounding, the image of that empty photo seared into my mind. The coldness of the memory's absence was a physical ache. The oppressive fog began to thin almost immediately. Within what felt like a mile, it was gone completely. The road ahead was clear, eerily silent, bathed in the faint, gray pre-dawn light. I found the turn-off for Highway 17 easily, as if guided. It was exactly where it should have been, as if the last hour had been nothing more than a vivid, stress-induced nightmare. But I knew better. The emptiness within me was too real. When I finally stumbled, shaking, into my apartment, the first rays of morning sun were painting the sky. I was drenched in cold sweat, exhausted, bewildered. Had it all been real? A hallucination? But then I looked at the photograph of me and Shep. And the hollowness was still there, a cold, aching void in my soul. The memory was gone. Truly, irrevocably gone. The photo was just paper now, holding no warmth, no echo of laughter. It's been a few weeks now. I haven't told a soul. Who would believe? I avoid the old Weaver Toll Road like it's the plague, even in daylight. I take the long way, always. But the most disturbing part, the thing that keeps me awake in the vulnerable hours of the night, staring into the darkness? Sometimes I try to recall other happy memories. And some of them, they feel a little faded now. Less vibrant. More distant. As if the toll collector didn't just take one memory. As if paying that first, terrible toll allowed it to continue drawing from me, sipping away insidiously at the warmth and light and joy of my past, leaving me incrementally emptier. I find myself wondering, with a cold, creeping dread, what happens when all the bright memories are gone? What kind of toll will it demand then, when my well of joy runs dry and I am nothing but a husk of past sorrows? What will be left of me? So, if you're ever out on a dark, lonely road, and you see a strange light where no light should be, or a structure that feels ancient and wrong, for God's sake, turn around. Don't stop. Don't talk to the collector. Because some tolls are far too high to pay. And some debts, once incurred on those forgotten roads, can never truly be settled. He's still out there, I know it, waiting patiently, eternally at mile 19, for the next tired traveler, for the next bright, warm, precious offering.